Greetings, everyone. Well, this one's been a long time coming, hasn't it? How long ago did I finish the walkthrough? It's time! It's time to do the review of Dead Space. Oh, you can see the reflection of the screen. There's the screen. Ooh, a hand within the hand. Alrighty, let's get on with it, shall we? Today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Boy, you guys just can't get enough of me yakking about Dead Space, can you? Since finishing the walkthrough, the 41-part walkthrough, I've had so many people ask me, when are you doing the review? When are you doing the review? Now. I'm doing it right now. Now, at the end of the last part of the walkthrough, I promised a couple of things. That I'd be doing a review of the game, which I'm doing now. This is it. This is the review. It's happening now. And I'd also do a missed bits video. I'm going to say right now I've decided not to do the missed bits video because I realized after the fact it would take forever to do. Basically because I've played the game all the way through a couple of times for myself, like just on my own. And I played it all the way through for the walkthrough. If I was going to do the missed bits video, I'd have to play it all the way through again. Now, as much as I love Dead Space, as much as I love it, and I will play it again eventually, I just don't want to play it again right now. So, I'm not going to do the missed bits, okay? I'm not going to do it. Just stop bugging me. You're getting the review, you get my walk through the demo, and that's it. We're done with Dead Space until the sequel comes out. Okay, now, on to the game. What did I think of the game? Well, needless to say, given that I've already dedicated so many videos to it, I liked it a lot. It is good. You should play it, because it is good. What specifically is good about it? Well, now, I kind of felt like, alright, as much as I enjoy survival horror as a genre, let's face it, it's kind of the same old thing over and over again a lot of the time. I mean, even Dead Space has a lot of familiar elements to it that, you know, longtime survival horror players will recognize. A lot of people described it as Resident Evil in space. I don't think that's true. Just because it's third person and just because it's survival horror doesn't mean it's Resident Evil in space, okay, people? Really. It's not even close to the same thing. So what were some of the things I liked about it? Well, first off, the story. I thought the story was really good. They really spent a lot of time, obviously, developing a backstory and a history and sort of fleshing out this universe that we've never seen before. So the game is essentially the third part in a trilogy of a multimedia extravaganza of stories, beginning with the 6-part Dead Space comic book, which was excellent. I don't actually own the comic book, but I did watch all of the motion comics that were posted on the various game sites, and I thought it was excellent. I really enjoyed it. The comic book was actually recently compiled together in a collection, a collected edition, beautiful hardcover collected edition. That's something I definitely plan to add to my graphic novel collection. So the comic book was really good, and basically the comic book told the story of what happened on the colony when they discovered the marker, and everything leading up to and surrounding the initial planet crack by the Ishimura. And then we have, of course, Dead Space Downfall, the animated movie, which, you know, got kind of mixed reviews. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought for what Dead Space Downfall was, it was perfectly fine. You know, there was nothing wrong with it. Animation by the same studio that does Family Guy. Did you know that? Yeah, that was the Family Guy people doing the animation for Downfall. Like, how crazy is that? Doesn't look anything like Family Guy. But man, it was gory as hell. So Dead Space Downfall, of course, detailed what happened on the Ishimura after the events of the colony and after the marker had been transported to the Ishimura. And the movie actually ends pretty much right at the beginning of the game. And the game picks up literally seconds after the movie, where you play Isaac Clarke, who is an engineer on the team sent in to basically find out what happened with the Ishimura, because they've lost contact with them, they broke communication, so they're sent in to find out what's going on. So essentially the game is you going in, more or less solo, to clean up the mess of the events that started on the colony, continued on the ship, and it's great stuff. So the thing that's interesting about the story is, just from everything that we've seen, the comic book, the movie, and the game, there is so much potential for more stories. I mean, there's so many questions left unanswered, even by the end of the game, that they clearly intended this to be the start of a new franchise. And man, it's just, they did such a great job of fleshing it out. It's just such a fascinating world that they created, universe that they created, with a really fascinating backstory. I mean, there's a lot of questions left unanswered. For example, what exactly is the nature of the necromorphs? We really don't know. We don't know where the necromorphs came from, what their sort of purpose is and stuff. And there's a lot of questions about how exactly they take. I mean, you know that there's infectors and there's killers and stuff like that. You get that, but what's their motivation? Like, what are the necromorphs out to do? Is there some goal, or are they basically just like a, you know, like an ant colony where they just sort of work instinctively and they're all guided by the hive mind and stuff? You really don't know. There's really not a lot of answers given as to what the whole deal with the necromorphs is. They're just kind of there, and you have to deal with them. You find out a little bit about, you know, how they work, I guess, and how they reproduce and spread the infection, as it were, that they need dead bodies and stuff like that. But you really don't know much about their origins, I guess, is what I'm getting at. So there's that. There's also a lot of questions about the original marker. So we really don't know anything about the original marker. The original marker that this Altman guy discovered way back in the day and founded Unitology. Is it just me, or did Unitology seem like a bit of a jab at Scientology? It seemed kind of similar. If you look at the respective beliefs of both, one almost seems like it's sort of like a horror version of the other, you know. Maybe I'm the only one who picked up on that. But anyway, so there's a whole slew of questions about what exactly happened with the original marker when it was discovered and Unitology was founded and things like that. And there's so much potential for more stories that I can't wait to see where it goes. I heard that the sequel is in the works. No idea when it's coming out. I think 2011 is what the general ballpark figure is. But beyond that, we don't really know. So that's the story. The story is great and interesting and has a lot of potential for future stories, which I think is terrific, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Now, on to the game itself. Graphics. The graphics in this game are just gorgeous. Now, one thing that a lot of games of this type suffer from is repetition of graphics, where you get kind of the same corridors over and over again, the same rooms over and over again, just cloned endlessly, and it can get very repetitive and dull. Now, that's not to say there's no repetition in Dead Space. Yes, there is, but each area of the ship has its own very unique and different and instantly identifiable look to it. So no two sections of the ship look the same. Like, for example, you go to the hydroponics level, it's this huge gardens, there's a lot of green everywhere. You go to the bridge, it's like this huge, vast, cavernous room with big windows that you can just stare out into space. You go to the medical deck, it's these really tight, confined, hospital-like corridors, and then you go into the morgue, and there's like stretchers and cabinets all over the wall and everything. And just every single level of the ship has its own unique look. And yes, there is some backtracking. You do go back to some of the same levels again, but even when you go back to those same levels, the lighting is completely different. The mood is completely different. Everything is different. Even though it's the same actual environment, the look and feel of it is different and unique for that time that you visit that level. So they really, in terms of being fairly confined as far as where you can go, I mean, it's a big ship. It's a big ship, but it's still a confined space. But I mean, that's kind of the point of it, is it's a claustrophobic horror type thing. The creators have said that their primary inspirations were films like Alien, Event Horizon, and The Thing. The necromorphs are very much like The Thing. The ship is very much like Alien and Event Horizon. And it definitely has the same kind of claustrophobic horror feel as, well, all three of those movies. And those three would be my top 3 sci-fi horror movies as well, by the way. So being a fan of those movies myself and clearly seeing the influences in the game, this was a real treat, seeing those influences all amalgamated into this interactive sci-fi horror experience. So yeah, the visuals are really fantastic, and also within the levels there's often sections that are blown out or damaged. So you have like these sections that are just wide open to space, and you have to kind of leap from section to section to get around it, and watch your step. And it just looks fantastic. I mean, the detail is just gorgeous in this thing. I didn't play the whole thing in high def. I played most of it in our standard def TV, but I did play some of it at Annetta's folks' place, because her brother has a PS3 and they've got a high def TV, and good size one, about 42 inches, I think. So I played a bit of it there just to get a taste for it in high def, and it just looks fantastic. It really does. I mean, you come across a dead body and you see like little maggots squirming around in the puddles of blood and stuff, and it's great. I mean, the gore effects are often quite disturbing. I mean, you go into I described this in the walkthrough, when you go into the morgue, or just the medical level in general, it's like, it looks like everybody came down here injured and then exploded. There's just like blood splattering the walls and body parts everywhere, and it's gruesome. It's really gruesome. So yeah, overall I give the graphics an A+. I mean, they really obviously spent a lot of time working on the visuals of it. Well, I mean, if you look at the book, The Art of Dead Space, I'll just pause for a moment here. People ask me constantly where I got this. I got this as a gift for free from Annetta's brother. Where he got it was, they were actually giving them away at the local EB Games around the time that the game was released. So he just got a few of them and kept one for himself and gave me one, and I think gave some others away. The only other way to get it that I am aware of is to get the Xbox 360 Deluxe Edition of the game that came out, because it includes the art book. It also includes the DVD version, not the Blu-ray, but the DVD version of Dead Space Downfall, and I forget what else, some other swag. It's a nice edition. PS3 owners were a little ticked that they didn't get a special edition, especially since apparently this was developed on the PS3. That was the development platform. So like, why did we get shafted? Come on, just put the limited edition out for everybody. What about PC users? PC users didn't get anything either. So yeah, obviously somebody was getting paid some money there. And as far as I know now, that's the only way you can get the art book, unless somebody's hawking them on eBay. You might be able to find it on eBay. The art book is really nice, and looking through this, it's really easy to see why the graphics are so good, because they spent a lot of time doing concept art, not just for the characters and such, and the creatures, but for the environments especially, because I think it was quite apparent from their influences and also from the direction they wanted to go with the game, that the environment itself had to be almost a character. You know, it had to be very distinctive and have a distinct look and feel to it in order to be effective. So there's a lot of dark corridors and a lot of lighting effects and such that add to the mood and add to the tension. And speaking of adding to the mood and adding to the tension, I got to talk about the sound design. The sound, my God. Okay, the visuals get you into that place. The sound is what sells it. The sound is just incredible in this game. If you're going to play it like in surround sound or wearing headphones or something. Just do whatever you can to get the most you possibly can out of the sound in this game. You want it at the very least in stereo, so you get that ambience, you know, that ambiance. And you hear things all around you, and the sound is constantly echoing because you're in these vast corridors in this huge ship, and you go into certain areas and you hear strange voices whispering, and it's just, there's so much creepiness, and a lot of the tension just comes from the sound. And the music, oh my god, the music could easily have come right out of any one of those sci-fi horror movies I mentioned. It ranks right up there with some of the best sci-fi horror movie scores ever. You know, I put it right up there with the music from Alien and Aliens, with the music in Event Horizon and The Thing. I mean, it's just, it's right in there. It's right in tune with that, and evokes those same feelings of tension and suspense. Even a lot of the time, there's nothing going on. There's absolutely nothing going on. You're in an empty room, there's nothing. But the sound, the ambient sound, the sound effects, and the music combined, you're still on the edge of your seat. Your palms are sweating, and you're trying to, you know, you're cautiously looking around corners and such because you think something's going to jump out at you. Now, a lot of people say, like, oh, Dead Space is... I'll talk about the scare factor, actually, while we're sort of on the subject here. So, sound design. Some of the best I've ever heard in a video game. Bar none. It is so perfect and so effective. I cannot possibly praise the sound design enough. In fact, I think they won some awards for the sound design, because it was that good. Yeah, so the guys who did the sound and music, big thumbs up. You guys did a fantastic job. Fantastic. I wish more survival horror games had that level of attention given to the sound design, because it made such a difference. So already you have stunning graphics combined with just terrifying sound design. But speaking of the fear factor in general, I mean, some people... I got so many comments on the walkthrough saying, oh, Dead Space wasn't scary at all. Okay, anybody who says Dead Space isn't scary is either lying, because they don't want to be seen as a wuss, because, oh no, you got scared, that makes you a wuss. Everybody gets scared, okay? Get over yourself. So they're either lying, or they're so jaded and desensitized from watching way too many horror movies that, well, quite frankly, I pity them. Dead Space is scary. But here's the thing. The same goes for horror movies. With any kind of horror movie or horror experience, you gotta give a little bit. You can't just take. You gotta put yourself in the zone. It's like, why would you play a horror game without wanting to be scared? You have to want to be scared to an extent, you know? For some people it's easier than others. I mean, myself, I consider myself pretty jaded. I've seen a lot of horror movies. Not a lot scares me anymore, because I'm definitely desensitized to, you know, the typical sort of horror movie cliches. But Dead Space is just relentless. I mean, it just throws everything, including the kitchen sink, at you. You got long, dark corridors where nothing's happening, but there's tension and suspense and anticipation because of the sound design, because of the lighting, because of all these different factors combined. Then you have things jumping out at you out of nowhere, which makes you jump out of your skin. So you got those kinds of scares. You have the creeping dread kind of scare, and you have the things jumping out at you kind of scare. Then you've also got the, you know, you got moments where things don't jump out at you, but they're in the room. You look over somewhere and you see something looking at you, or you look up and see something scuttling along the grill along the ceiling. Like, it can't get to you, but it's watching you. And that's scary, because, you know, it's, oh shit, when am I going to meet up with that guy? You know, where's he going? You know, is he going to cut me off, or what's happening? That's all scary stuff. I mean, a lot of people don't give it enough credit. They say, like, oh, it's just a bunch of cheap scares with things jumping out at you. No, it isn't. It is every possible way you can be made to feel scared from a good movie or a good game, or, you know, a good, like, carnival haunted house. You know, that's the best way I can describe it. Netta described it that way, and that's exactly the way I felt as well. Is when you're playing Dead Space, it feels like you're going through one of those haunted houses as a kid. But this is a haunted house that lasts, you know, 15 hours. So it's 15 hours of tension. So what have we covered here? We covered graphics, sound, and scariness. I think that's good for this part. I'm going to put this into a second part because I don't want this to be a 48-minute video. Alright, so see you guys in part 2 for the wrap-up of the Dead Space review. Yes, it's scary. Well, the review isn't scary, but the game is scary. See you in part 2. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara! Boo! Oh, come on, you jumped. I saw you.